Yeah, I mean, Ethereum, if you asked us in 2015 what it was for, it was RWAs. The original kind of vision video Gavin Woods oversaw, and this is the Ethereum the World Computer video. It's about a minute and a half, very grey, very white, lots of kind of snaking lines across the landscape. But all of the assets in it are real world assets: hospitals, forestry, power station, plane, boats, you name it. It's RWAs all the way through. And then sometime, I guess, 2017, we begin to get the ICO boom, and it's like, wait a minute, they're not selling equity. What are they selling? Weird. And that whole thing of like, these tokens are not really a thing. They're a new class of property, or they're not property at all. That was a bit of a surprise. And then I remember seeing the first of the crypto kitties, and it was like, what the heck is that? And it was a real kind of 7-day wonder in the Ethereum team of everybody like, you can do that? Yeah. There's like the DNA is on the chain, and then there's a renderer that takes that DNA and shows you a picture of the thing. It's like, whoa, I never thought anybody would do that. And then, it just kind of goes whoosh from there. But in a lot of ways, I think that anything that isn't an RWA, when all is said and done and push meets shove, it's just test data. All the NFTs, an NFT backed by a legal license to use that intellectual property is one thing. An NFT that's just an NFT is another thing entirely. And right now, we don't, generally speaking, have legal licenses for the NFTs. So you buy an NFT of a work of art, and it's not that clear what you've purchased. Similarly, for a lot of the tokenization projects, you get these utility tokens that are strapped to very large stacks of contractual paperwork. But if somebody nicked your utility tokens, you might have a hard time demonstrating to a court that any actual property had been stolen. Illicit transfer of commercial rights. Is that fraud? I don't know what that is. Weird. And, so you're kind of in this position where I do feel like we've spent an enormous amount of money with brands that are marketing into existence kinds of property that don't really exist or hold value. And that has allowed the industry to build staggering amounts of actual technical capacity and working systems. But at that point, if we don't get all of the real world asset stuff that was ever dreamed of, done and accomplished and running, it's going to be very, very, very hard to sustain the value of these assets. And I would include Bitcoin in that, because right now Bitcoin is essentially a dollar short, and there's a lot of money to be made short in the dollar. But if you are right and the dollar does indeed go to zero, you're not going to be able to spend it on anything because society will collapse. So I sort of feel like we're in this position where there is a huge amount of work to be done getting the real assets on chain. But I think of that as being not a new vision. I think of that as being the thing that made Ethereum different from Bitcoin right at the beginning. Was Ethereum was the real world asset approach, and Bitcoin was the cryptocurrency is money, is currency approach. And that was a very early kind of psychological division, but I think that we've lost a lot of sight of the fundamentals of Ethereum over the past 10 years, and the other chains are still sort of scattered around ideologically somewhere between those two poles.